Welcome back to the shop. Okay, my Vikings finally showed up. The coilovers for the front of this. I never got to drive this because I cut too much coil out, and between that and these Chinese tubular control arms, this pocket is lower. It has the spring sits down lower than it does in a stock control arm, I believe. So we got too much, we had too much rubbing, and I didn't really want to take the inner fenders out yet. So I decided not to drive it until we got it all fixed. We were waiting on Vikings. I'm also waiting on 5x14 American racing wheels. I've got the skinnier front tires, the skinnies for the front, but I don't have the wheels yet. I was just going to drive it around, but I'm still waiting on the wheels, and I may be waiting for another month for them. Or longer, I don't know. They're coming, they're made in China, so if they're on a rowboat somewhere in the middle of the ocean, who knows how long it's going to take to get here. So they're saying September 17th, possibly. Could be sooner, could be later. So I don't trust any of that these days with all the COVID crap and delays on this and that and the other. So the Vikings showed up. I'll show you those in a minute. But I'm tearing this back apart because we got to get these coil springs out and these shocks that I never even used. And we're going to fix the gap in between here, making this shift back and forth. We're going to put some washers in it, shove this control arm forward to fix the caster. And I went to go take these shocks out. I barely got this bolt out. This one I can't get out because the spring pressure is so tight in there. It's got this rubber isolator, and you can't get the nut out, the bolt out now. So I've got to take the upper control arm off, get spring pressure off this before I get the shock bolts out on both sides. I barely got this one out. I'm not fighting it on this one. If you guys are planning on buying these cheap tubular control arms, don't. I got these off Amazon. They were like $250 for all four of them or something crazy like that, or $300 max for all of them. It's not worth it. Just rebuild your stock ones, or step up and buy the American made stuff, which I haven't tried yet, so I can't vouch for those either. I'm assuming that they're a lot better than these. We are going to buy a set so we can do a comparison between the cheap China control arms and a quality. I don't know if we're going to go QA1. I don't know if we're going to go, hell, I can't even remember the names of the rest of them. Global West. There's several companies that make them in the States that claim that they're really high quality. We'll see. I don't know which company I'm going to go with yet. I've been looking at them all. We'll find out. We're going to talk to a few of them and see if any of them want to work with us. If not, then we'll just purchase them on our own and do a video and let everybody know my honest opinion, 30-year mechanic, of what I think, the comparison is. These I don't like at all. I'd rather have the stock ones in than these. I wish I wouldn't have bought them, but I did. And we're going to try to do the best we can with them at the moment. So I'm going to get the spring out. I'm not going to film that because I already made a video on springs and control arms and stuff, so I'm not going to film a lot of this portion. But I do have the Vikings, and I'll show you those in the box. They came in last week. I hadn't even had time to really look at them yet. I believe the spring's going to be in here. Here's our spring. Got some spanner wrenches. And then we've got the shock. Which looks awesome. So we got to assemble these. We got hardware, T-bolts, which I hope will fit in these stupid control arms. So we'll assemble these and we'll install them. Show you how I assemble them and hopefully this won't take too long and I can drive my El Camino. I have drove it, and only drove it a few times after I bought it because that ball joint broke, and I didn't want to keep driving it with that thing flopping around, and it's just part of the parts waiting game. I should be on a hot rod power tour right now with this. That's exactly where I wanted to be. But I just can't get parts, So it's disappointing, but it is what it is. And we'll make it next year for sure. So, and we'll probably have a whole different drivetrain in it by then. So let's see here. All right, I'm gonna get this stuff apart, then we'll start assembling. Coil out, and the shock out. I want to show you how I had to notch these shocks. I don't know if I showed you in the install video. I had to cut the ends out because these are normally boxed in. This gap's closed. I had to take a Zizwell and cut these out because they didn't line up with the holes provided with these lower control arms. And I also had to run a tap through these and provide my own hardware because the hardware was junk that they sent. It's becoming a very common trend, is the hardware that they're sending in kits is just doesn't, the thread pitch doesn't match, and it's just garbage. God, man, the quality of stuff, it's been like this forever in aftermarket world. Little background. Started out as a dealer tech. Well, I started out working on go-karts, four-wheelers, motorcycles, hot rods, you know, around the neighborhood. When I got out of high school, I started working on bobcats and tractor equipment for an equipment rental place for about, I don't know, 6 months. Then I moved into a Volvo dealership. They figured out I knew how to work on stuff. They brought me straight into the shop. Got a job working on cars, or washing cars. Moved into the shop. Went through an apprentice program, went through training. It was a Volvo, full-blown Volvo tech by the time I was 19. I mean, full-blown, on the line, fixing everything that the, you know, veterans could fix. So I've been around this industry a long time, and I've got a very professional background in it. I owned a shop for 9 years. I've been in business for 16 years working on cars. The quality of compressor, quality of parts sucks. It has always sucked, but at the dealer level, it's so much better than it is in the aftermarket world. That's why, that's the only advantage of being a dealer technician, is you get quality factory parts all the time. Well, as quality as they are, as quality as they can get. Aftermarket's so, you gotta modify everything. Compressor's off now, so now I have a brand new set of shocks that will work on any A body, I believe. If anybody needs a set and they're in the North Georgia area, let me know. I'll give them to you. All right, we're gonna fix this next. Well, see that movement? That's not good. So what I've bought, and I think it should work, bought some big flat washers with a 1/2-inch hole, and we'll stick those in there, and hopefully that will take up that gap and take the slop out. So I'm gonna pull one bolt out at a time and try to wedge this in there to get rid of that gap. And we're gonna do it on the back side so it pushes the control arm forward, because we want as much positive caster as possible. It makes it drive better. All right, well, I hammered some washers in there in the lower control arm, and it slowed down the movement a little bit, but not 100%. I think I'm going to take the sway bar out, because with the tie rod in, damn it. Okay, rudely interrupted by the compressor as usual. All right, so I may end up taking the sway bar out because it hits. I don't have a spring in it, but it hits, and this is not where it normally sits. It sits about halfway, so It's just not working with these control arms, I don't think, but we'll figure that out later. Now I need to get the get a coilover built for the side and get it in here. Okay, so I assembled this. Basically just slid the T-bar into the bearing here and put the clips on, and that'll slide in here, and those clips will hold it into the bottom of the shock in there like that. But it does say in the instructions that I mean, it warns you about thin metaled stock control arms, then it tells you if you've got welding nuts to cut them out, and to use the factory 3/8 that's supplied. So the factory, the nuts they supply will not thread through there. These are the ones that would thread through. So let's see. You can see the difference. It's thicker. So now what I get to do is cut those weld nuts out with these cheap ass Chinese control arms. So I gotta carefully cut these welds. I'm gonna take this isolator out too, because it hinders you from so I'll get it out. It hinders you from getting the nuts on the bottom side, and I don't have a coil spring that's going to sit in that pocket now, so I don't need them in there. Well, I'll work on getting that out. Alright, there's one off. Drill them out. WD on my drill bit here. Yeah. Yeah. All right, done. I'll sit on there like that now, nice and flat on the bottom. Should have plenty of material there. I'll clean that up a bit, shoot a little paint on it. I want my shine of junk rusting, right? Alright, I put a little on her, and that'll stop the rust. I don't think they'll be on here long enough to cause any rust, hopefully, because I don't like them. That's what it looks like built. And I'll show you how to assemble it on the next one. So it'll sit in there like that. Spring will go on it and go up through the top just like a normal shock. Okay, so I've got the Viking assembled. I've got anti-seize on the threads and in the nuts of the adjuster and on the bearing. And I'll show you how to assemble it totally on the bench here in just a few minutes without anti-seize, because it makes a royal mess and you get it all over your hands. You know, if you ever work with anti-seize, you become the Tin Man. So I just got it hanging in the factory shock location, and I'm going to try to push this up to see if that's going to allow me to install it like that, or if I need to put it in the control arm first. I'm not sure yet. So I'll go ahead and attempt that and let you know how it turns out. All right, kind of cool looking, cool. You can reach in and grab your knobs. I took the sway bar out because it was interfering with the control arm, and I usually just don't run one in front of a drag car anyway, which this is a street strip car, but we'll see how she handles without it. I haven't adjusted the spring height at all, but I did just lightly installed the bolts through the hole here, because it tells you to make sure it's centered in the hole, and you can adjust it side to side. So I still got to do that, make sure it's centered, and it's still loose up top. But I put a screw jack under here and was able to I hung it at the shock mount at top first, set my spring into the pocket where it's supposed to go from the factory, you know, and then I bolted it, you know, raised it up, bolted it up. It was pretty easy, and I was able to do it by myself. It would have been easier with a second set of hands, but I was definitely doable by yourself the way I did it. And now I got to adjust this up. It says adjust it up about 1/3 of the way. So you got all these threads to adjust the height up and down. So I'm probably going to adjust it probably about halfway and just see where it's at. It'd be easier to come down. And it says to never adjust the ride height with weight on the wheels and tires to have it suspended. So I'll assemble everything and I'll lower it down and see where it's at about half. And it says to start at 1/3, but I've got to get some ground clearance because these tires are too big for the front. So I'm going to start at half, and if I've got to come down, I will. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put the brakes back on. I'm going to spin this up a half, tighten my hardware up, make sure I'm centered in the bottom, which it's pretty centered. It can come over just a touch. I don't think we're going to have any binding issues, but you never know. I'll try to bump it over just a touch, and we'll go from there. All right, so I've got the spanner wrench up the adjuster's up about 1/3. I have decided just to leave it there for now. It's a pretty slow go spinning those things in a tight spot, so I'm going to start out like the instructions say and just see what it looks like. Go from there. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to dry assemble the shocks without the assembly lube. I don't want to have to handle the camera and the not assembly lube, the anti-seize at the same time, and I need to kind of get the wheels going here and speed this process up a little bit. I got to get this thing over onto the alignment rack because I need to drive this thing tomorrow. So we're going to try to bang this out, and we'll let you know what we think, but I am going to show you how to assemble the coilovers real quick. Okay, this is what it's going to look like when you open the shock package. I haven't touched anything, but just open the lid. So this is the Viking Performance unboxing, and the coil was wrapped in a separate box. Pretty simple setup. I'm going to try to set the camera up here where you can see. The shock and all the hardware. way. Okay, first thing we're going to do, get the bearing T-bar assembly out. This goes through here like this. Should not have to force it, although it is a tight fitting. Tolerances are tight. But there we go. Take one of the large, it's got large and small clips. Don't go too far in like I just did. There's a groove right in the outside. Go ahead and take one of the small ones. Oops. Put that in that outer groove. Okay. And just do the same thing on the other side. Hey, now. Butterfingers. Go. And that's it on the T bearing setup. All right. Then you've got to put anti-seize on this, but I'm going to just screw this down just to show you how it goes without doing that real quick so I don't make a huge mess. It tells you to extend your shock out. And this will go all the way down. And you've got a bearing, but that doesn't go on yet. This one goes on next. This is to drive it up, spin it up to lock these two together once you get your final adjustment. It tells you to bring these all the way down, then once you get the spring installed, you bring this back up a third, and then adjust your ride height accordingly. If this is your thrust washer, your thrust washer goes on there, and That allows the spring to pivot, or the shock to pivot, so you can adjust the height without binding, and you put anti-seize on all that stuff so it doesn't gall up. Of course, that goes through the top, and you've got bushings right there for that, and 2 3/8 bolts and nuts, or nylon lock nuts for the bottom for that T-bolt and the control arm, and that's it. Pretty simple to install, or build, assemble, I should say. Okay, Vikings are installed, finally. All right, we got the spring set about the same on each side, and we're gonna set our knobs, because this car doesn't make any power yet. We're gonna do the compression at 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and rebound. 1, 2, 3. 10 and 3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3. We will definitely be changing that. We'll be changing that around when this thing starts to make power, but this, I mean, it's all stock right now, so I had to rebuild the front end, and we might as well do it with cool stuff, right? At least the coil springs are cool, or the Vikings. The rest of it's junk, but it'll stop better than the drums, and hopefully these control arms will work until we either get a company on board to do a comparison with their product, or we just have to buy some control arms and see how we like them, and we'll be honest with either way we go. Anybody that watches me on a regular basis knows I keep it pretty real. I'm not trying to hide anything. I show mistakes. I may not show all of them because I make them, that's for sure. Everybody does. I don't clip them out. I clip some of them out just because it's boring, and you probably don't want to see me flinging tools and saying obscenities that will never land me a sponsor. All right, we're gonna get the wheels back on, and we're gonna get it on the ground, bounce it a little bit, and if the ride height's good enough to move the vehicle with these fat front tires, we'll drive it. If not, then I mean, it needs an alignment, so we need to ultimately get it over here on the alignment rack, get it adjusted, because I gotta be able to drive this thing. All right, well, I'd say she's a little bit lower than it was when I started with the cut springs. Good thing this is adjustable, because it is sitting on the fender wells. So put it back up in the air and adjust. I should have put those adjusters at least at half. We're gonna need to go up quite a bit to make these fat tires work. Like I said, I've got my skinnies, but I just don't have the wheels. The wheels are taking forever. All right. All right, finally got the ride height. It's hard to see in the shop because we got so much clutter in here. Finally got the ride height down to where it's not scrubbing so bad with these big balloon front tires. They're not that big of a tire really, but they are for what I want. They're a 215 70/15, but we're going down to 165 80. So this is the tire that's gonna go on it. Oops. It'll be quite a bit narrower and a little bit shorter in height and a lot lighter. That's the name of the game in drag racing, right? Is get get the weight off the front, get it over to the back tires, get your weight transfer. That way the back tires get planted to the ground and aren't spinning. All right, I'm gonna get this thing on the alignment rack and adjust the alignment on it. I'm not gonna film that, but I am gonna change the fuel line out. This thing's got a little bit of a drip. This old motor is just temporary, guys. Just temporary, but it's gonna allow me to drive it while I'm doing some other things. But the fuel line is not safe, so I'm glad I made it back from South Carolina when I did. So we're gonna wrap this one up. I'm gonna change the fuel line, get it over on the alignment rack, and supposed to drive to South Georgia tomorrow to our hunting property for a work day. We've got some family obligations tonight with my son's football team. It's Friday. The 5th graders are gonna do a tailgate at the high school game, and then they bring them out, introduce them on the field. So we're doing that tonight, and my son has a game tomorrow, but I think I may have to miss it to go to our hunting property, because we're supposed to be down there cleaning up our camp, getting ready for hunting season. And it'll be it's about 2.5 hour drive each way, so it'll be, I don't know how many miles it is, probably I'll have to Google it, 150 miles each way, 200 miles each way, I'm not sure. So it'll be quite a adventure for the El Camino. I'll probably do some filming of that, just because it'll be another test of endurance for this thing. And I got to double check my wheel bearings in the front, make sure I've got them loaded properly, and get the alignment done. And if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button down there on the screen. Give me a thumbs up. Go check out my other videos. Give them a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Make that little thumb turn blue. Subscribe. Stick around. Check us out. Peace.